What's up, y'all? It is Nate Almighty. I'm back with another Pod Book 3, Raising Kanan, Season 3, Theory and Prediction, y'all. Let's talk about Howard, let's talk about Kanan, and let's talk about the theory that I came up with, that Howard will ultimately end up dying like Kanan did in OG Power. I think this is going to be a spot on, very clear connection between when this happens and the scene that we all know and don't love from OG Kanan. I mean OG Power, even though it's legendary, okay? Now, we know that Howard has spent the entire season 3, right, killing Burke and trying to cover up all his own tracks, even though it seems like slowly but surely everything is going to go against what he's trying to do to save both himself and Kanan. So, let's discuss why Howard's ultimate fate will result in him shooting it out with the police, right? Dying. And let's explain why it's going to get to this point. Okay, so, although Howard is a cop, the feds are all over his workplace, actually doing their jobs. They're slowly but surely gaining all the information they need in order to not only bring Howard in on a huge RICO indictment, but they will also be looking at him as the boss of the entire operation, aka the head honcho. The writers have slowly shown us Howard had at least 2 other officers at his precinct that we know of who at least suspected that he was dirty. Those 2 officers are both Shannon Burke and Garcia. And speaking of Shannon Burke, there's only a matter of time before her girlfriend Adina runs into Detective Garcia, which will then lead to Detective Tanner or his partner completing the puzzle, being he was already suspicious at Rock. So imagine what will happen once the feds find out not only was Rock Howard snitch, but is also the mother of his son. And going back to Detective Garcia, we all remember that scene, the beginning of season 2, after Howard survived the attempt on his life. What did he say when Howard went into the office? He said, "Man, crime's been down considerably since you've been gone." It almost makes you think you were the reason for it. That is a clear indication that the man does not trust Howard, and he was already on Howard's ass. Okay? But, my next point. And by the way, the feds have already been looking at Kanan as well, and will easily find out about his gun charge. We know for sure that the police are looking at Kanan as well, and it was a bad idea for Raquel to get him involved in the system. We know the episode in either 3 or 4, I believe, where Kanan's hustling, or you see Kanan, he's walking, and then the officer that's watching Kanan on camera, they start looking at Rock, or it was the other way around. But either way, the police are aware of their association with each other, and they're watching. They're watching, right? So with that said, plus the fact that Howard already seems disinterested in finding the person who shot him, this will lead the feds to believe that Howard is the crime boss and doesn't want to snitch on whoever his op is, because he plans on getting back at his op in the streets and getting it back in blood. Okay? Now, this looks bad for everyone in the Thomas family except for Jukebox and Kanan. Even though, yes, Kanan is involved in that, but it looks the worst for everyone else, right? The only way they don't all go down or have to go on the run is if the feds have a crooked officer that can be bought. Because anything Rock, Marvin, Lulu, Kanan, and Detective Howard can do, anything they can do, it can easily be thwarted by the feds, who will seriously be doing their jobs, and they won't leave any stone unturned. That's why, like I said, they would need a crooked officer. But now the question is, how does Howard end up going out like Kanan did? For starters, we can eliminate the possibility of Kanan killing Howard, at least for now, because they have an odd yet good relationship. Howard will do anything to protect Kanan because he sees him for what he actually is, and he's already proven that. He sees Kanan for what he is, like I said, which is a victim of circumstances put on him by his mother, Raquel. But there will be a war between Rock and Howard over Kanan in the middle of all this drama. Okay? And it'll either kick gear towards the second half of the season, or it will start in the beginning of the season 4. Okay? Now here's what will happen if Howard and Rock get in there and smoke. Howard is the better shooter out of everyone in the Thomas family, right? And himself. So it won't be easy for them to hurt him. He's a certified shooter. The best they can do is hurt his image by exposing him as a crooked cop, right? Which will lead further into why he will ultimately end up shooting it out with the police, okay? Somehow, some way, eventually, we could, or we definitely will, see Howard be suspended from the force. Now, while Howard deals with his suspension from the force, he'll also be at odds with Rock at the same time, making him irritable, paranoid, and distrustworthy of everyone. Okay? Howard will likely still have at least one friend in the force who tips him in and tells him the feds are planning to come for him soon. They're putting the finishing pieces on his indictment and everything, right? I personally just don't see Howard as the type of man to just lay around and let himself be arrested, even if they got him dead to rights. So he only has 2 options, okay? Off himself or make a run for it. Now here is what slows him down before he leaves and has the opportunity to make a good getaway. He tries to find Kanan to speak to him one last time. Kanan will be too busy with a woman, outside hustling, dealing with something to do with Ronnie, or maybe he killed Famous at this point and he's grieving over that or whatever. Okay? Howard will not be able to see Kanan on time. Okay? Howard is stopped by the feds while he tries to make a run for it. He then decides he can never let his son's secrets out. And he also decides he refuses to go to jail. He's a cop, so they'll destroy him in there. He won't be loved. He won't be safe, right? So he pulls out his gun and goes out in a blaze of glory, seeing his son's face in his mind as he takes his last breath. Kanan, overlooking the situation and the severity of the situation, finds out what Howard did on the news. And there you have it, man. That's the basis for my theory on why Howard will ultimately end up dying the same way Kanan did in OG Power. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Peace.